Permit me to share from my screen the presentation of today. I'm trying to share from my screen. Can you see my screen? What entrepreneurs need to know. Nobody prepared for the season of the pandemic earlier than the way it happened last year. We're not prepared for it. And therefore, when it happened, no one ever knew that it's going to take the turn that it took. Now, as far as that is concerned, it is important to look at what we need to do in order for us to overcome the season of the pandemic as a business person. Now, there's no doubt that small businesses are the hardest hit from the current COVID-19 pandemic. The bigger businesses have either a better chance of surviving. However, small tend to live only with a few months of cash flow. So when something as significant as pandemic in terms of COVID-19 happens, it can be devastating, not only for the small businesses, but also for employees that they support. And how can businesses survive with turbulent times? And I discovered that more than 70% of startups have had to terminate full-time employees contracts since the start of COVID-19 pandemic. Also, many entrepreneurial businesses have pivoted to meet new needs for goods and services born out of crisis. The way entrepreneurial business models and approaches are affected by the pandemic have a lot of impact on how entrepreneurship is perceived as a job choice in the future. The onset of COVID-19 have left few people, if any, unaffected. Government the world over have been repeatedly tested and stretched. They have set new rules, norms, and tried to reestablish confidence and give economies a chance of survival. That is, a lot of things that we experience, even in government nowadays, are the things that we've not expected before. For example, there was lockdown. We had a lot of things coming up, like giving palliatives to people. And I don't think any of us has ever experienced anything called lockdown, if not for pandemic that happened. except when there are elections, is when we stay indoor, or when there are some reasons like census or population census period. That's when we stay indoor. However, some newborn entrepreneurs and startups have been more opportunistic during the pandemic period. That is, they pivot their businesses through some kind of repurposing and redirecting existing knowledge, skills, people, and networks to the new needs that have emerged from startups and individuals producing and selling face masks, for example. Those are new things coming up in this period. Nobody ever thought of selling face masks in the year 2018 and even early 2019. Nobody thought of that until the pandemic started. And those are new business areas where people are channeling their skills and decorating things and making sure their vision are being repurposed and redirecting existing knowledge in order to suit now. Zoom was not as popular as it is now. Before, we do hear of webinars, but we didn't take those things serious as the way we do now. But now we consider webinar as our new way of surviving. For example, from startups and individuals producing and selling face masks and sheets to their local communities, to local taxi startups turning into grocery delivery companies. For example, a lot of motorcycles and logistic businesses are now putting themselves forward to be servicing grocery shop and restaurant for people to be able to patronize them more in order for them to survive and adapt to the new normal. Also, a pre-proposing approach is not without its challenges. Many of these entrepreneurs come from different knowledge domains, and this poses a problem for those wanting to do business with them. How can they judge their trustworthiness or legitimacy without a past reputation? That is, of recent, a lot of businesses have been coming up all in the name of pandemic. This is what we do, this is what we do, but we have not tried them before. And those are some of the opportunity and crises that the COVID-19 is bringing to our own domain. We have not tried those people before, and we don't know what reputation they have. But now I can say, okay, let me buy so thing from so person, and the person will bring it to my side. And once the person brings it, I have to be sure whether the person has legitimacy of selling and those stuff. While most startups may see repurposing as a short-term opportunity or solution, it remains a fundamental survival strategy and growth opportunity. A lot of us, even individually, have had to repurpose our plans. We have, some of us have also re-strategized. For example, if you are building nowadays, you just want to make sure that you have enough space in your environment so that when things happen, you'll be able to contain, you'll be able to accommodate, exigencies. Before, managing space was not a thing that was taken seriously before COVID, but now people now manage resources better, try to repurpose and re-strategize themselves and make things work better. As such, to take advantage of potential of the entrepreneurs. Government and other supporting institutions also tend to develop appropriate measures to support this kind of entrepreneurship. Now, changing perspectives in entrepreneurship. It is almost certain that the way entrepreneurial businesses are affected today have an impact on how entrepreneurship as a job choice in the future is being perceived. Now, the changes we observe today may be a double-edged sword. Some argue that the crisis could negatively impact the risk associated with entrepreneurship and ultimately hinder startups in attracting the right talents. Others might have suggested that the changes we observe today could alter perceptions of entrepreneurship for the better. So some sees it as this thing will kill entrepreneurship in totality and will make people not have job. Others see that it's going to boost people's perception of entrepreneurship and make people turn more to entrepreneurial businesses. However, in recent years, entrepreneurship has become more and more associated with stereotypical high-tech startups and entrepreneurs. Today, we see a lot of new businesses, fintechs taking over everything, new creativity from people, often based in certain geographical areas and fertile environment across the world. Although the successes of these young companies are undoubtedly essential for the advancement of our societies, some might argue that entrepreneurship has become a game for the happy few, for those with access to the right type of education, funding, and networks. With so many large institutions shedding talented and well-qualified employees, perhaps this crisis that suscept people to go into private businesses or entrepreneurial practices, aftermath will encourage more people to take on the risk associated with entrepreneurship as companies continue to lay people off, as organization retrenches or right size, people tend not to be so comfortable with what they have, and that takes us to the need for achievement that makes people to go into entrepreneurship businesses. Now, there are so many needs and gaps to fill, and startups tend to be much faster at adapting and filling gaps than more established companies. Today, for example, in the area of fintech, discover that a lot of fintechs, a lot of banks are trying to buy over fintechs now. What the fintechs are doing, a lot of banks will tell that they have the capacity to do, but they have not been creative in that direction. So needs and gaps are mostly filled faster by adapting and filling gaps than more established companies. Now, the importance and difficulty of challenges facing entrepreneurs can vary based on where they are in the entrepreneurial journey. For example, people start today and they have not, probably a business that has just been existing within a short time period, like 1 to 5 years, is in a journey. The one that has been existing for about 20 years, they have experienced some other things. And sometimes the years that businesses are spent in operation determines what the entrepreneurial journey looks. Now, the effect of COVID-19 on businesses has been large and overwhelmingly negative. And the effect can vary relating to business characteristics like industry and business owner characteristics like race and religious factors, social factors. And now this takes a closer look at how business age matters in the way entrepreneurs feel the effect of COVID-19, resulting to some highlights from our pilot study. Now, in general, during pandemic, entrepreneurs with a younger business were more likely than those with an older business to report that potential barriers were a challenge. That is, during the pandemic, a lot of people neglected whatever barrier that they could have in businesses and just launch out, believing that there's nothing that can be more challenging than the pandemic that we have faced or facing, and which we are still facing. And those were the highlights from the pilot study. Across business ages, entrepreneurs were most concerned with finding new customers. That's another discovery among entrepreneurs. With a new business, finding new customers surpassed funding to start the business as the top reported challenge during COVID-19. Also, assessing startup and growth financing during COVID-19 conditions was a bigger challenge for entrepreneurs with a new business less than 1 year old compared to entrepreneurs with a young, matured business. That is, funding for new businesses became a big challenge. So new form of finances became a big challenge for businesses that are very young, and compared to those that have been existing because of trust issues. Now, challenges reported by owner of new, young, and mature businesses during COVID-19 based on the survey. Now, for entrepreneurs of all business ages, finding new customers was the most common challenge reported. When people are at home and we are not planned, or we have not prepared that we start online business or online transaction, 69% among those whose business was between 10 years older, you understand, they find it challenging to generate new customers. Now, also, among those with a new business, less than 1 year old, 4 in 5 reported this also as a challenge when it comes to finding new customers. Among those whose business was between 5 to 10 years old, 70% of those categories. And entrepreneurs with a new business face the greatest difficulty keeping existing customers. So nearly 7 in 10 reported this to be challenge. That is, that the COVID-19 posed a lot of challenge for them in discovering or getting new customers for them to be able to survive during COVID-19. Now, what we learned about businesses in COVID-19 lockdown. Now, people had different motivations that period, and it wasn't all about necessity. At that point of the lockdown, it wasn't about just necessity. People had different motivation. People rediscovered themselves and discovered that so they could work from home. So I could do this, so I can become a caterer. So I can make things better than the way I used to do. So running a business from home made sense during the pandemic. Food and craft products were popular because we had to survive and there was need for us to continue living. So food and craft products, which are even having first in, were in survival mostly. People found out that their skill were more transferable than they thought. Nobody ever knew that they would be able to log on to the system and operate a Zoom meeting. People never knew that they could train people that would handle their offices at their own absence. So there were a lot of transferable skills, you understand, that we didn't consider, but that we had opportunity to handle. Also, customers wanted to support local enterprises. Customers wanted to support local enterprises more because local enterprises tend to approach more of the customers so that customers will have more confidence in them. So customers wanted to support local enterprises in a way in which when you tell a customer that this is what I now do, they just want to be sure that, okay, this person is the one I have known, and therefore I think we can patronize this person. Also, companies did well that focused online. A lot of companies that are online are able to do well, and social media became the marketplace for almost everybody, including the religious bodies. Not all of those businesses will have permanent results. We know that people are taking their businesses online nowadays, but we are sure that not all of those businesses have the capacity to be sustainable after COVID-19. Now, take away, exposure to COVID is based on entrepreneurs' industry of operation. There are two positive thoughts that we always keep in mind. Now, entrepreneurs are fighters by nature, optimistic and resilient. They will overcome and bounce back. That's one of our thoughts. Secondly, every crisis has an endpoint, and this will be the cue for entrepreneurs to undertake something new That is, this season will pass. And after this season pass, what again shall we do? How do we continue from here? You understand? And like that, every crisis has an end point because it started one day and is going to end. So therefore, entrepreneurs have to undertake something new. The industries most impacted by COVID, particularly those in social sectors like hospitality, could take the opportunity to innovate with more digitization and disruption implemented in their business models in order to increase the touch point with their customers. Now, what entrepreneurs must understand to manage the crisis? A basic reminder is that a company needs three assets, or an entrepreneur needs three assets to be profitable and sustainable in COVID pandemic. Now, number one asset, or that we need to be sustainable, is money and access to capital. You see, you may not have all the cash, but if you have access, it's as good as you have the money. Now, access to capital. Now, number two is know-how or specific expertise. You can't just go and say you need money or you have access to capital. One should be able to say, I have the technical know-how to attract the capital or that I need, or I should be a master in the business that I tend to. That is, we must really master the art of our business. Now, a team is very important for us to be able to sustain and survive. A team, we need people, we need human capital in order for us to survive as entrepreneurs. Please know them: money, know-how, and a team. Nobody survives, nobody succeeds alone. Now, your first asset, which is money, please keep playing to win, not to survive. In this way, you should manage to survive. And at the same time, you prepare for the day after the crisis ends. Now, diagnostic for action A with respect to money. Accept that your previous plan is now outdated and irrelevant. Then prepare and plan for a worst case scenario. You need to face the present realities. Know that the money of yesterday may not be enough for the money needed for tomorrow. So therefore, accept that your previous plan is now outdated. You understand? Ask yourself, where are you, or where were you at the beginning of 2021? Were you in good shape or not? And why? Where will you see yourself in third quarter this year? Because this is second quarter or fourth quarter. How much money do you have in cash today? How much money do you need to stay alive during COVID-19 or during the pandemic coming in the next 18 months? Prepare a Q1 for 2022 so that you can be more strategic in your approach. Now, still with respect to your first asset, your first requirement to stay afloat in business. Now, number two for your first asset, which is money, is that you must have the action of considering cash as key. You understand? Cash is king in this present market that we operate. It is time to review all your expenses. Non-essential expenses must be cut in order to reduce your cash burn rate. So this is not the time to spend money on frivolities just to impress people, or you just want to buy things that you may not necessarily need. Pinpoint and look after your revenue sources. Analyze your customer portfolio to try to guess who among your customers might not be able to pay their invoices anymore. If you can encourage faster payment, or even whether you can close their debt profile or forgive them of their debt so that life can move on. Now, access to capital. Secure the funding, which is the action, third action, with respect to money. Make sure that you secure funding which you calculated that you need, and do not wait for the end of the crisis without taking immediate actions. Now, position your company for growth. A downturn is the best opportunity to improve your fundamentals, as I've explained below. Now, your second asset, which is your expertise, your value proposition, your know-how, your market fit. Number one, take the opportunity to improve your fundamental and to make them more robust. Develop your product and your technology more, and make sure that you take this time to train your technical team or a technological team to new software and online and free open platform. Also, endeavor to make sure that your executive team, if at all you have, takes opportunity to improve your market fit, enhance your value proposition, think strategically, don't just think of now, think of tomorrow, build sustainable relationship, enhance your turnover by marketing more, and develop a performance report system so that you can say, okay, I think I'm fine for myself. Now, your second asset, which is your expertise, develop a better sales and marketing team and take this time to talk and innovate with your best customers. Analyze with them, dive deeply into your customers' database and advance on those databases. It is also time to innovate and forge new collaborations. Restaurants can move to take away food. Some restaurants are providing daily recipe each morning on their social media channels, like the way I used to see a lot on Instagram. And a lot of young people are now coming into food businesses. While customers can order food or dishes for delivery via collaboration with food apps, so a lot of apps are coming up and people are coming up with new strategies. So many businesses would not have imagined that years before. Your third asset is people, reimagine your new future and ways of working. During the crisis, your employees must remain more committed, and you yourself as an entrepreneur must be committed in order to keep going through it. Communication is crucial, and you must ensure that the cheapest way to communicate is what you adopt. Now, some of us don't use CUG lines. We don't use any of those things. We need to consider some of those platforms so that we can talk cheap with our persons who we run businesses with or our employees. Bear in mind that remote working offers more flexibility, because if it had not been remote working, I wouldn't have been able to be doing what I'm doing from here. I should be the one taking or driving down to Ikeja just to make sure that this seminar comes live. It had been 2018, it will be more or less like appealing to everybody to be physically present. So let's be more flexible, but it will keep some of the chemistry of creativity, because sometimes you wouldn't be able to say how creative you are via looking at somebody's picture, you know. But when we work together, we can tell how creative we are. So we can reduce more physical approaches and adopt more of remote work conditions. Every crisis is an opportunity. Don't forget that some of the most disruptive or interesting companies have been created and took off during crisis. Companies like Google, eBay, LinkedIn, after 2001 crisis, Uber, Airbnb, Instagram, WhatsApp, after 2008 financial crisis. This means that there are great opportunities for great leaders. Just last week, Secure ID achieved a new quantum leap as a result of COVID-19. Now, a lot of Nigerian companies too are doing well. Secure ID, a lot. Flutter Wave, and so many food businesses which we not add off initially. More limited travel of goods are going to be happening, and people, more limited travel of goods and people are going to be happening in recent time because people are now preferring to work remotely. Now, the potential growth in dematerialization of product and services, for example, we could witness a boom in 3D printers to produce masks and ventilators. That is to say that more agility in corporate decision-making are coming up. So, for example, we have seen companies like Apple changing their operations virtually overnight and produce and ship face shields for medical workers. Now, low-cost product sourcing model where China and India are the worst manufacturers will be ended. Globalization as well. The crisis will change the relationship between countries and states, and it is happening. Relationship between countries are changing as a result of the new normal. With virus containment likely to persist in many parts of the globe, we will see for sure that new ways of life producing new needs, which will in turn create new opportunities for entrepreneurs. Some new business models, new offers around dematerialization will have to be invented. In the coming years, lastly, the new king of the world will be amazing of dematerialization. That is, businesses will come to their lowest level in terms of seeing people or bringing new entrants into such opportunities, and there will be a lot of competition, and it will be the entrepreneurs who will implement this new world order. Thank you for listening. Do we have questions? Hello? Hello? Hello, Miss Alimi? Semil? Can you unmute yourself? Okay. You can, hello? You can type in your question, and if there are no questions, I think we can go to continue to enjoy our weekend. Do we have any question with respect to doing business in COVID-19 pandemic? Do we have questions who have been part of this meeting? Oh, someone asked a question. We don't know who the person is.
My name is Muhammad Ali.
Okay, sir.
I've gone through your lectures. They are quite educating, quite educating. My question is this: you are working with a business organization.
Okay.
Not your own business, not your private business. How will you be able to put what we've just learned today be service to a business organization, that a business firm that is not yours? Because if you have to apply this to a private business, and you're so dedicated to it, it's good. I've been able to learn so many things. The example that what I'm trying to ask is, how will you be able to put all this what we've learned today into a business firm that's not owned by you?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I hope you understand my viewpoint.
I understand your viewpoint.
Yeah.
Let me quickly undo that.
Okay.
Yes. I think, every organization like people who are creative. Though there are barriers to creativity in organizations, because sometimes organizations don't want to change from the norm. But however, with sincerity of purpose, and when you have a good mind towards making sure that what you are trying to propose to your organization is what would suit them in order to run more efficiently, you have a high chance of succeeding. For example, assuming you are working in a very big organization, you are a manager, for example, or probably you are an officer. Let's not even say you are at the managerial level. And the next thing is that you are getting to the level in which you need to implement change. You can start to introduce change from where you are. Now, while trying to introduce change, you may try as much as possible to get the audience of senior colleagues with respect to your points before it gets to the top management. Now, because there are procedures of communication, of change in each organization. Now, when you now get opportunity of interacting with senior person or the top management, then it's from there that your suggestion may now come up as a policy for that organization. But mind you, when you try to initiate an idea and your idea becomes a policy, you have a high place in such organization because you'll be more valued. Are you getting it? So that is why that's the reason why in which we have to really watch the way we operate in an organization, because sometimes you don't know the perception of the management about you until you have a change you want to initiate. And when you are trying to initiate a change and the organization tend to buy into your change and that thing influences the organization positively, I tell you, you may even get more promotion and you may even be deployed to head a better branch than the organization or than those who are your peers in such organization. So have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So hope you try to make a change now with your initiative.
We'll do that.
Okay. So
your lecture is quite educating. Quite educating. I'm impressed.
Thank you, sir. Immediately I saw Muhammad Ali, I was afraid. I thought it was Bash Ali.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Miss Alimi, are the expense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we have more questions?
No, I believe not, sir.
Okay, no problem. Thank God for Mr. Muhammad Ali. So we look forward to next presentation in the future. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome, sir.
Yes, sir. So we can go to continue to enjoy our weekend. Bye.
All right, sir. Bye-bye.